MarkRogersTV, the voice of college football. Our Ohio State show is only possible because of these three: Tony Gerdeman, Buckeye Scoop, Kevin Noon next to me, rivals Buckeye Grove, and Steve Hellwagon, of course, Bucknuts 247 Sports. And if you guys have another minute, I'd like to throw this one at you that was tossed out concerning Marcus Freeman, defensive coordinator at Cincinnati. If you look at the performance of the Bearcats on that side of the ball, it's been tremendous. They've led the American Conference in any major meaningful statistic on that side of the ball his 2 or 3 years. And then he moves on to Notre Dame, takes over for Clark Lee, who took over the head job at Vanderbilt. So did we know Marcus Freeman had this in him, Steve?
Well, I think he's a star that's been on the rise, obviously, with what Luke Fickell has done at Cincinnati in just what would it be 3 or 4 short years. He's part and parcel of that success. And Freeman had been at Purdue previously before going to work with Fickell at Cincinnati. And as I said, the defense was one of the better parts of that Cincinnati program the last couple of years, obviously. And he's getting an opportunity now, and to see what he can do in the big leagues, at a Power 5 school, and arguably, one of the biggest football programs in the world at Notre Dame. But people ask, well, why wasn't Ohio State part of it? Well, first of all, he played for Jim Tressel. He played for Luke Fickell. Luke Fickell and Ryan Day were never on the staff together at Ohio State. They just kind of saw each other in passing, I guess, going in the door. So I think that you say he's part of the Ohio State family, but again, he wasn't even a member of Urban Meyer's Ohio State family, so or Kerry Combs' Ohio State family, or anybody else. So yes, he's Ohio State and alma mater, and maybe one day he would end up at Ohio State in one fashion or another. He's one of the better people I think I've come in contact. I'd put him in the top 10% of the guys that I've interviewed over my 20-some years at Ohio State in terms of quality person and all that. We know his story and everything, but just timing, it just didn't work out. I think I don't think he would have been somebody who was forefront in Ryan Day's thinking. Ryan Day hit a home run with Jeff Hafley, who he brought in a year ago, who they'd worked together at the 49ers, and decided, hey, I'm going to bring him to the college level after Hafley hadn't been in college football for nearly a decade, and he's been a star, obviously now the head coach at Boston College. So it's just kind of a timing, where you're at type thing. And he's got Ohio State behind his name, but I don't think it was a name that Ohio State's coach really thought much about.
There was a word on the street was that at one point there was some conversation, but this goes back prior to this year. And you also have to sit there and see where your positions fit at this point. Would you have Marcus Freeman in a position to where he's coaching your secondary? You got a guy named Larry Johnson working with your line. You got a guy named Al Washington working with your linebackers. So sometimes it's a matter of making the pieces fit. But I hear people with their dissatisfaction with how some of the defense was called or whatnot at this point, and saying, well, you need to be able to do this. And there have even been rumors that maybe somebody like Greg Madison may be toward the end of his career and ready to, enjoy the silver years of his life. But you need to find a situation to make things fit. And it just wasn't necessarily going to fit at that point. And I understand he's the hot name, and him going to Notre Dame, and there's just this natural rivalry between Ohio State and Notre Dame for a lot of obvious reasons and whatnot. But, Notre Dame, to its credit, identified him, allegedly paying him a ridiculous amount of money. Congratulations, Marcus, to that. And, it just kind of is what it is.
I talked to Daryl Hazel, whatever year he was still at Purdue at Big Ten Media Days, about Marcus Freeman, and he said he's a future superstar in the business. And I talked to one of his linebackers, and everything he told me about what Marcus Freeman does was exactly what every single linebacker at Ohio State ever told me about what Luke Fickell does. And they were mirror images of each other, basically, as coaches. And I think just with Ohio State, basically, if I recall, like Ryan Day had already decided on his 2 coordinators. Marcus Freeman was already a coordinator, so now you're going to ask him to come to Ohio State, but you're not going to be a coordinator. You can maybe coach linebackers, and it's going to be a bit of a demotion, probably a raise, But as I think I said a few weeks ago here, I think the reason he stuck around for as long as he did is because he thought he would be the next head coach at Cincinnati. But if Luke Fickell's never going to leave, you have to go to a bigger school and be a coordinator. That way you can land a job like Cincinnati, which he now can. Maybe not Cincinnati, but who knows, maybe Central Florida as Danny White goes to Tennessee and takes his head coach with them or something like that. But I think he had to move to be able to go to a bigger place, and then this is where you get your next big job.
Yeah.
Speaking of next big jobs, Jordan Kapler, appreciate the Super Chat contribution. Looking at one of the four of us, I guess. He's throwing me in the mix to replace
Mark,
Jeremy.
only one of us on the show has a Tennessee helmet in the background, so
Yes, let's not cover that up with this ugly.
So
I had a McDonald's a couple days ago.
oh, I have some cash laying around. Maybe we're all capable of coaching Tennessee.
Hey.
I don't have a lot of cash, so that would strike me out there. So
If they want to pay me $6 million, I'd go down there and act like the head coach at Tennessee for a year. Can't do any worse than the people they've been paying to do it.
you've been doing it for free.
Yeah, Tennessee, I mean, they won the first BCS national championship in 98 or whatever. And like since then, they've kind of fallen off the college football map. I can't even remember a remarkable moment for them in the last 20 years other than getting boat raced every year by Alabama, Florida, and whoever else. So Florida, Georgia, and Alabama, have boat raced them. I mean, what would you think the combined wins, Florida, Georgia, and Alabama for Tennessee? Is it maybe 6 or 7?
I'm glad you asked that, Steve. I heard this the other day.
60 total games in 20 years. Have they won 7 or 8 of them?
So they haven't beaten Alabama since Nick Saban showed up 13, 14 years ago. They are 3-30 against those three in the last 11 years.
Yeah, 3-30. So, and again, it's not like Tennessee's a very fertile ground. There are some high school football players there, but you have to go to Georgia, Florida, the Mid-Atlantic. I mean, you got great states all around you that and they did good in the past coming up to Ohio and getting a top 10 Ohio guy every now and then too. But there's just nothing there that would draw you there, I don't think. I mean, they let it die. It really, Florida State, Michigan, Tennessee, Virginia Tech, they should all get a room. The caretakers of those programs in the last 5, 10, 15 years have let all 3 or 4 of those programs pretty much die out. And it's unfortunate. They're Tennessee in name only. That's all they are right now, just as Michigan's Michigan in name only right now. So I don't know. Florida State's Florida State in name only. So I don't know. It's sad, but oh well.
No, they should be recruiting a lot better. Nashville is one of the hottest emerging recruiting markets out there right now just because of population shifts. And when you look at the kids at the private schools, at the Montgomery Bell Academy and Brentwood Academy and places like that, you sit there and you see Alabama and UGA and Ohio State and a lot of schools fighting for those kids, Michigan even. So, I don't think that there's, the area of Eastern Tennessee may not be producing the talent, and Western Tennessee, once you get closer to Memphis, is more of a basketball-centric area, but they're still putting out talent. But they should be doing so much better in Nashville. And I know Vanderbilt's there, and Steve and I both know Barton Simmons very well, who left the recruiting industry to kind of become their Mark Pantoni, if you will. But Tennessee should be in a lot better shape based on recruiting there. They're only 2.5 hours away from North Georgia, which means they're only about 4 hours away from Atlanta. It has just been inept leadership around that Tennessee program. And, the thought is with them bringing in Danny White from UCF that maybe they'll be able to right some things, but they're going to have to go through and clean up a lot of culture issues, I think, as well, because it's a mess there right now. It is an absolute mess. And whoever the new coach is going to be paying for the sins of not only the outgoing coach, but maybe some previous regimes as well, because it has been a lawless venue for a long time.
There's a lot to clean up, but there are a lot of resources and there's a lot of advantage that you outlined. It can be done. You need a strong guy that has a plan, that knows his stuff and can come in. It can be done.
With a 7-year deal.
Big Vol Daddy. All right. I'm believing this is going to be a mic drop moment. My balls suck apples for sure, but if the program is put on the death penalty tomorrow, they will die undefeated against the Buckeyes. Good day, fellas. There it is.
Have a good show, everybody. Talk to you later.
Yeah, I was going to say I got nothing else.
All right, everyone. Appreciate it. You guys are the best. Tony Gerdeman, Buckeye Scoop down in the corner. Steve Hillwagon right below me, Bucknuts 247 Sports. And, of course, Kevin Noon, Buckeye Grove Rivals. You guys, again, thank you so much for all that you do. Hope everybody out there appreciates it, and we will see you next week.